joke, I've been a money maker. I've been a record breaker, taking credit as an educator. I've been known to spit the flows and make the shaky, shaky thing. Popping, locking, stopping, let it hang. Watch us as we drop this hip hop, it's like it stings. We make a whole room drop and everybody sing. We want the funk. We gotta have that funk. We kick it old school, we think we're so cool. We take it back to the past, we gonna act a fool. Up jumps the middle finger, make.
Hello, 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 and welcome to Sports Buzz, The Fanatical View. I am your host, Scott D. Lewis, here live in studio. Comcast Cable Channel 23, downtown Danbury, Connecticut. On this not as chilly, but still pretty chilly Thursday, January 9th. The bitter Arctic freeze is passing by slightly. Still pretty cold out there. I hope everybody has survived those cold temperatures and got through all that. And also Happy New Year to everybody. We were snowed out last week. Supposed to be here on last Thursday, the 2nd, to do our year in review show, but snow came through and we were unable to get that show to you and wish you Happy New Year. So we've been off since before Christmas. So Happy New Year to everybody. Hope everybody had a happy holiday and a good time. We got the usual getting back into the swing of things chaos down here on the set. So for the moment, I'm flying solo. My man Bob Brault Jr. is in the studio directing the show. And he will hopefully be coming in to talk on the mic with me as we get into the show. And maybe our director, Mike Toohey, will show up at some point and take over. Right now we got Mike McFadden, who's been down here doing the extended training program here at Comcast, getting things done. He's working the cameras for us right now. And Strange Man, aka Peter Green, or is it Peter Green, aka Strange Man, in there as well doing work. So we're going to get right into it. I'm going to do a quick run through because we did want to do the year in review, but we're not doing our typical full-length year in review show, but I did want to run through some stuff. Hopefully Bob can figure out how to work the graphics and get the pictures up as we run through it. I'm going to go through it kind of quick, and then we're going to get to what's going on currently in the sports with all the NFL playoffs underway, the BCS championship that just went down, and try to get a little update on NBA, NHL, and some college stuff as well. And there it is, Bob jumping right into it as we get the year in review. It started last year with the SEC and Alabama once again crowning themselves as champions as they knocked off Notre Dame, who had put themselves back in the championship mix for the first time in quite some time. The Fighting Irish were there undefeated going into that game, but it was Bama who steamrolled them in that championship game, and they took care of business, knocking them off to get their championship again, 7th straight for the SEC as their reign of dominance went on. As this college football season went through this year, though, the SEC had a chance again, but this time as the underdog in the championship game that just took place this past week, as Bob appears to be stuck on that one photo. Great shot there, Bob, of Bama and Notre Dame. And there comes Bob right here, walking in. How is he doing multiple things at once? He's working pictures, he's walking in the studio, it's a magician. Does this mean our man Mike Toohey has arrived?
Yes, he has.
Mike is here, all right. So we were talking about the college football scenario. Bama with their championship, and then the college football, the story of the year as college football went on was Auburn, the surprise team, knocking off Bama at the end of the season in that classic Iron Bowl. It was the team of destiny, and then they made it to the championship game, which took place on Monday night, and it looked for quite some time that they were actually going to be able to continue this dream season and come away with the 8th straight SEC championship, but it was not meant to be, as a wild end to that game went down with Florida State, the favorite in the game, the undefeated Florida State team coming through late in the game, and there it was, the final play in the waning seconds, 13 seconds to go. They threw the touchdown. The Heisman Trophy winner, famous Jameis Amos, he came through. Jameis Winston with the throw into the end zone for the championship. So Auburn's dream season was unable to get done there. They weren't able to finish the deal as they were in charge of this game throughout and they played a great thing. It was really unfortunate as they made two unfortunate things happen with the big 100-yard kick return that gave Florida State the first lead in that game. But then they came right back down and marched down the field, and they retook the lead with just over a minute left. And then that great defense they played all night failed them, as it was a quick little out, short pass to the left side there, and two defenders ran into themselves and knocked themselves down, and Florida State was able to do a pass and catch run for 50 yards that set up that game-winning touchdown. So it was really unfortunate. And that 100-yard kick return, an Auburn player came up lame with a hamstring pull, and that opened up the big lane for that kick return. So two things went wrong for them, and all of a sudden the dream season turned into a nightmare, and Florida State did come up with the victory right there. So after it was the BCS, as we continue our year in review, Bob,
Yes.
how's that camera 2 shot looking? It looked a little off. Maybe you might want to check that out. It was on to the Har Bowl, or was it the Super Bowl?
Could be either one.
It was the-
How you put it.
It was the Har Bowl last year, as Jim and John, the brothers Harbaugh, met up as Baltimore Ravens took on the San Francisco 49ers in the Super Bowl, and it was the Ravens with all their deer antler spray and the blackout, and Ray Lewis getting it done. He was killing it on the field, Bob. And a big defensive stand in that final play. They had the big lead in that game, and San Francisco came all the way back.
Yeah.
But Baltimore did hold up with that one final defensive stand, and they came away with that Super Bowl victory, the Super Bowl championship. And that was the next big thing that happened during the season. And then we move on to March Madness, as Tui is in the control room frantically talking to Bob with his microphone, trying to get aware of what's going on, pictures hanging up on the screen. What a way to start the year, Bob.
Right.
Welcome back. We've got special guests in the studio, kids watching.
Yeah,
Let's give a quick shout out to Mateo Shabu and Andreas Shabu.
Can you hear me?
Our former Joe Jetmet net. They've been in the studio tonight watching things get done. TV magic. This is what it's like when it's live. You're on the fly.
Yeah.
You just get it done.
Yeah,
See
we were,
what
we
you
were,
can
we
do.
were trying to get it all together tonight, right?
A little hectic tonight, but anyways, we move on as the next big thing that took place was Master P and the Louisville Cardinal finally not coming up lame in the March Madness and making it all the way to the final against the former Fab Fivers and Michigan Spartans. And that was a classic comeback right there, Bob, as Michigan was up big in that first half. Louisville rallied late, and it was a big second half as they were nip and tuck all the way, and Louisville came away with that championship as they walked off with the March Madness trophy there, and they got the victory in their last year in the Big East, as they are actually
Now in
the
the
real Big East. They're
Now
still
it's the Atlantic League or
the American Athletic Conference.
Yeah.
We'll get to that in a moment as we talk about UConn. So that was the next big thing on the docket. We go from one basketball tournament to another, the NBA Finals, and the supposed best coach in the NBA, Greg
Right.
Popovich. You know I like to pull that Robbie De Niro impersonation, Bob.
Oh,
He
yeah.
blew it. He blew it in that Game 6 as the Spurs had the championship in their hand,
Yeah.
and there he is. Traitor Allen, Ray Allen, the former Celtic,
Now he's with.
formed up with the Miami Heat, and he delivered the dagger, the game-tying three-point shot, forced overtime, they win it. Game 6, they win it. Game 7, they pull down their back-to-back championships, and all the NBA fans go away feeling deflated from that. Greg Popovich, he blew it with his coaching decisions down the stretch. The Spurs were the championship, and there he is. I'm sure he did not try to explain away his gaffes and just said it is what it is. But he blew it big time. Next big thing that went down, this was a tough one for me, as the Boston Bruins. Ouch, Bob, in the Stanley Cup.
they got
and this
whacked.
was the original 6 tournament, really, as we had a lot of great tournaments, a lot of old teams facing off against each other. Detroit versus Chicago, Boston and the Rangers. How'd that series go, Bob?
That didn't go so good for us Rangers.
No, it did not. Bruins made a great run into the finals where they faced off against the Chicago Blackhawks.
All right.
And it was a classic series, really, overtime games, really a thrilling event. And the Blackhawks ripped the hearts out of the Boston hub of hockey. The fans there in Game 6 as they were desperately trying to force a Game 7 back in Chicago. But the Blackhawks scored 2 goals in the last minute and a half of that game to tie it and then win it and win the cup right there on the Boston ice. Broke the hearts of the hub of hockey Boston Bruin fans and mine as well as I stared at that TV in disbelief. But there would be other great things that would happen later in the year for Boston. We will get to that momentarily. The summer months saw golf fill the thrill, lifting the claret jug into the British soil, winning the British Open, Bob. But of course, who stole all the headlines all year long? The guy who didn't win one major.
Right.
His current streak stands at what? How many years has it been now for one Tiger Woods?
It's been a little while.
A long time since Tiger has brought down a major, but yet it was Tiger Woods leading the headlines week in, week out, and he did win PGA Tour Player of the Year.
Yeah.
I'm not sure quite how he did that by winning all those, little made-to-order Tiger tournaments. He didn't win one single big-time tournament. It was Phil the Thrill bringing home that one. That was the biggest moment in golf all year with a historic Sunday final round day as he moved up the final stage leaderboard there with a great effort to win it. Other big stories of the summer, tennis, Andy Murray, speaking of British things happening, the British Mile, the Murray Mile, as he won Wimbledon, breaking the drought of 70-something years or so since a British citizen had won their trophy there. So he brings down Wimbledon, and that was obviously a great, great event right there as he did it in front of the home fans. The Scotsman got it done. And also in tennis, we did see the return of Rafa, Bob, to the top of the echelon. He had been kind of down and out with some of his injuries the last year and a half or so. But Rafa comes back, and he comes back strong, winning the U.S. Open. So Rafa is the man who really is back on top of the tennis world. Also, some other stuff that took place in the summer as we were watching some baseball go down. We were also watching soccer unfold as the World Cup qualifying was taking place. And that was quite a thrill to see, Bob, as the U.S. soccer team not only qualified for the upcoming World Cup, which we'll be getting into this year, as that's going to come down the pipe quick. But they did so in, pretty much for U.S. standards, record-breaking fashion, winning 11 straight matches this year, Bob, and doing it really in exciting fashion with the new manager, the new coach, bringing in that high-paced style, the German Klinsmann saying 1 goal isn't enough. If we're winning 1-0, we're not going to sit back on defense. We want 2 goals. We want 3 goals. We want 4 goals. They're playing that up-tempo, keep scoring, attack mode that Germany is known famous for. He's bringing it to the United States. So that was exciting for soccer fans to see as they clinched, qualified for the World Cup. And then it was all about the Fall Classic, Bob. And who would have thunk it after what had gone on in the Boston Red Sox? But it was Boston strong, which was the mantra for the Boston Bruins, who could not finish the deal, but the Red Sox finished the deal, doing against their longtime rival from the National League, the Redbirds, St. Louis Cardinals, who they have now faced 4 times in the history of the World Series. They lost those first 2 way back in 40s and 50s, or 40s and 60s. Ted Williams lost, Carl Yastrzemski lost. Bob Gibson, of course, a big thorn in their side. Then in the early 2000s, when the Red Sox broke the curse, they beat them in 2004. And then again, here in 2013, the Red Sox, after finishing in last place, the Bobby Valentine disaster, they had a great season, the most consistent team all year long. They had a couple lulls where it seemed like they might fall apart, but they did not fall apart. They came on strong, finished strong, and they had a great run through the postseason. Got it done, really, in a nice fashion. Great series against the Tigers. They took down the Tampa Bay Rays, and then they did against the Cardinals to bring the Red Sox and their fans a championship. Awesome deal for them. So that was great. And now that we have Bob here in the studio on the microphone.
Local hockey.
There was also a big hockey story that took place this year, and that was the Danbury Whalers. Mike may be able to find those photos. I think they're at the top of the draw there. But we have some of those shots as the Whalers. What'd they do, Bob? They brought Danbury their first professional championship.
Cup. Yep.
The Danbury Whalers, they brought home the FHL Cup. They got that done really in nice fashion. The Commissioner's Cup as it is, right?
Yep.
So that was exciting for the city, who fully embraces this team. Big crowds down there.
Plus we had the parade.
And they had the parade. We just had a nice photo of that right there.
Yep.
They showed off the trophy. 2,000 plus at those games, right?
Yep.
So big crowds down there, and they won it, that final clinching game on home ice.
Yep.
So that was nice to get the celebration in front of the home fans. Now what's going on with the local...
We have a little...
the league itself is in a bit of turmoil.
Yeah,
the team has had some stories with financial difficulties being reported. Only 4 teams now. To add to that, the coach gets in a dust-up last week, Bob.
Yeah.
An altercation that leads to his arrest after a road game. Which town was it?
Watertown, New York.
Watertown, New York, where he pushes a mother and their 7-year-old child.
Yeah.
Was it a daughter or a son?
Daughter to the ground.
Jeez. What is the coach doing, Bob?
And it was after they won. After Danbury won.
After a victory on the road, and we don't really have all the details. The team itself and the organization is not commenting on it.
Right.
It's a legal matter.
But he has to go to court next week, so.
He was arrested. He will be appearing in front of a judge in New York to answer to that, and we will see what happens with that. So that was not good at all. All right, well, Mike's going to have to run the gambling.
The Whalers are in town this week.
They are in town this week.
The Friday and Saturday.
All right. Actually, let's give Mike his proper plug. Expose Cinema, Friday nights, 9 o'clock. Wednesdays, I believe, 1. Spotlight on your show, Tuesday nights at 9, Wednesdays at 12.
Yep.
Did you happen to catch the Expose Cinema Christmas special, Bob?
I didn't catch all of it. I caught a little bit of it.
So you did see some of it.
Yeah.
I think our guy Mike has a future in comedy.
Yeah.
Either that or maybe psychotherapy. It was funny, but it was a little bit out there as well.
He says a little bit of both.
A little bit of both for sure. He had an interesting take. If you haven't seen it, it's worth a watch because he had an interesting take on the Christmas music classics that you hear and what the real meanings of those are.
Oh, yeah?
Quite funny indeed. That's all I'll say about that. It was a good show. I helped out Mike with that. It was pretty funny for anybody who got to see it. All right, let's get into it because we got not quite 15 minutes, but we got a lot to catch up on. I do want to mention college football. Maybe he can find those pictures of my Colorado State Rams. The bowl season was kicked off with a thrilling game, Bob. You thought Auburn had some unbelievable endings?
Yeah.
Washington State didn't know what hit them in the last 4 minutes of this game. It was a high-scoring game, which was what they thought it would be. And Washington State was in full control, up 15 with just over 4 minutes to go, Bob.
Yeah.
Colorado State scores a touchdown to cut it to 8. Then, with just over 2 minutes left, they force a fumble, sacking the QB, right?
Oh, we have a question from the...
From a strange man, probably.
Yes.
He's into. I'll get to it. All right, we'll get to him in a second. Not interrupting my Colorado State, as we only got 10 minutes left. They're down 15, right, Bob?
Yeah.
They cut it to 8. They force a fumble. Review says no fumble. So you think, all right, they're not going to be able to do it again. Next play, they force another fumble to get the ball. They drive down, score the touchdown. They need to go for 2.
Right.
Statue of Liberty play. The ref on the sideline, what's he looking at? He rules the guy out of bounds as he's diving, going for the pylon with the ball, clearly tucking it inside the pylon, and they go to review. They properly overturn it, say the 2-point conversion is good.
Yeah.
So 3 reviews in the last minute. that all went their way properly. They tied the game. You're thinking 30 seconds left. We're going to go to overtime.
Right.
No, Bob. They force a fumble on the kickoff return. They kick a game-winning field goal right then, right there. 18 points Colorado State put up in the last 4 minutes of the game. They win the Mexico Bowl. Unbelievable finish. It was wild and woolly. So that was obviously great. Let's stick with some other college sports before we move to other things. Well, let's see. What is Strange Man's stats? Nick's worst loss at home on Christmas.
Yeah,
that was
true.
a big one. Yeah,
that's true.
They got bombed. That wasn't good.
No.
I don't know, but Strange Man's going to have to come in and I can't read all this stuff. What is he talking about? There's too much here. Denver Broncos first team to score 600 plus points.
Yeah.
That's a good one. Boston Red Sox, 3-time World Series champions. Yes, we know Strange Man is a big Red Sox fan, so he's happy about that. Worst, something about the Patriots. I'm not sure what he's talking about here. Ravens, worst loss to Pats. That's true. And the Ravens, the defending champs, out of the playoffs, Bob.
Yeah.
They did not make it as the Patriots ended their season basically with that big blow-up in Baltimore. So that was good. All right, college basketball, before we get to the real stuff. UConn had that little UTEP two-step Texas malaise. They did not do well. I could not believe that the college basketball, what are they thinking scheduling a New Year's Eve game at 9 o'clock at night in primetime? I mean, that was just ridiculous. They gone down to Houston. They fell behind early, big time. They had a huge rally. It was not meant to be as they blew a three-point lead in the last minute. Big three-pointer by Houston that tied that game, and then they lost it on free throws late. And then at SMU, they did not come up with the win there. So their inauguration into this new league, not good. They lost their first 2 games. So that wasn't pretty. I did go to see them play in Bridgeport, Bob. That was a good time.
How was it?
Great. Got on the big screen, as a matter of fact.
Oh, did you?
On the Jumbotron, the guy who was next to me, one Jeff Oliver, the Shaboos, if they're still here in the other room, they know the Olivers well. My good buddy Jeff got on the big screen wearing a Bethel Wildcats Letterman jacket and a Nerf UConn football helmet.
Cool.
Dancing to some crazy tune. That was fun. And I was right next to him having a good time. So that was great. All right, let's get into it, Bob. We're going to run out of time, so let's go right to the NFL with the playoffs. Did you happen to check all the wild finishes this weekend?
Yeah, I mean, those were some interesting games.
3 games were unbelievable. Kansas City, the first one, kicking it off in Indianapolis, up 38-10. And in a blink of an eye, I could see this happening as I was texting with our good buddy, former Evil director Kevin Gallagher, and also one Fatty Roots, as they were starting to get comfortable with that 38-10 lead. But I kept saying, if they're going to let this comeback happen, you got to make them work for it.
Yeah.
The Colts started scoring at will, Bob.
Oh, yeah.
No defense, they're scoring in milliseconds. It was 38-17, 38-24. Scoring quickly, and all of a sudden it's a 14-point game, and you're like, this has got plenty of time left.
Oh.
And the next thing you know, a bomb to T.Y. Hilton, and the Chiefs lose this game, Bob.
Yeah.
By 1 point.
Yeah.
Unreal.
Yeah, that was
They blow a 28-point lead. It was shades of Frank Reich and the Buffalo Bills against the Houston Oilers. Unreal. Big, second biggest comeback ever in the history of the playoffs. So that started things off, and you're thinking, wow, what's going to happen here? And then the Saints, who never win on the road or in the cold, they go up to Philly
and crush them.
And the Eagles, they come back to take the lead late in this game as the Saints were playing very well. Eagles' offense was being shut down by the Saints' defense, but Nicky Foles leads them back, gives them the lead late. And then I can't figure this out, Bob. How, when you're at home, do you allow the road team to run out the clock? They ran out the last 5 minutes of this game for a game-winning field goal when they only had to travel 30 yards to set up that field goal. It seems like a mathematical impossibility that they would let this happen, that they would run the clock out the last 5 minutes and kick a field goal as time expired, and they only had to go 30 yards. How did they do that? How did the Eagles, in front of their home fans let that happen. Unbelievable disgrace for those Eagles.
The whole NFC East was crazy this year anyway.
Yeah, that is true. And I do believe we have a new coach in the Redskins land as Shanahan got fired. They hired Jay Gruden from the Cincinnati Bengals, right?
Yeah.
Offensive coordinator. How'd those Bungles do, Bob?
Oh,
Woo! Holy cow, are they bad in the playoffs. Marvin Lewis, I mean, he keeps getting them there, and he keeps losing. And Andy Dalton was a disgrace as the San Diego Superchargers. Let's talk about those Chargers, Bob. I mean, this team is dangerous for a couple reasons. One, their defense is playing better. Two, they have Phillip Rivers, a competent quarterback who can make plays, and they have playmakers as well. Keenan Allen's been a surprise player, big-time player. Antonio Gates, big-time tight end. They got a couple running backs in the mix, Danny Woodhead and Ryan Matthews. So they have weapons, but they're more dangerous, Bob, because they do not belong in the postseason. Did you see the end of their last regular season game against the Chiefs?
I did see it, and that was kind of...
Everybody's making a big deal about the penalty that should have been called. But how about the overtime when the Chiefs stripped the ball, ran it in for the game-winning touchdown, and the ref said no forward progress? That game was over. Chiefs won. Steelers were in the playoffs. San Diego's out. So the Chargers are super dangerous. All right, we don't have much time, so let's continue. The Packers facing up against their nemesis, the San Francisco 49ers, in the freezing, frigid cold, and they let the same thing that the Eagles did.
Let them come back and
run out the last 5 minutes of the game and kick a field goal to win it in bitter cold temperatures in front of the home field. So we got big games, rematches this weekend, Bob. San Diego will finish off the weekend Sunday late against Denver. The Chargers beat them a few weeks ago. The Saints traveling out to Seattle. We remember what happened there a few weeks ago with Seattle crushing them, but we also remember in the playoffs, Bob, when they went up there as the defending champs, and Seattle was 7-9 that year as a division winner hosting the game, and they put the beat down on them as Marshawn Lynch went into beast mode. Remember that run where he ran over all 11 defenders for an 80-yard touchdown run to clinch that win. And we also have New England at home Saturday night against the Colts. They did not play them this year, so there's no rematch there, but they have many game against them in the postseason when it was Peyton. Now they get to face Andrew Luck. And will there be luck? And the other rematch is San Francisco going down to Carolina and Cam Newton. Will he be depressed because his Auburn Tigers couldn't finish the deal in the national championship, or will the defense step up big like they have all year and like they did early in their year in Candlestick with that 10-9 victory out in San Francisco? All right, so it was a crazy show as we got back into it. We'll be back next week, try to get things a little more straightened out, a more normal show. Welcome back to the work week, Bob.
Yep, welcome
Stay
back.
warm. Hopefully it continues to warm up. Thanks to everybody who's here having a good time. We will see you next week. Take it easy.